All right, we're back to do part 3 of the series that I'm doing. You guys already know the title, so I don't have to repeat that. So what we're gonna do is, like I told you guys on the last video that I did that's dealing with this particular topic, we're going to start where I left off at. And one of the titles that we were dealing with, or one of the topics that we were dealing with was dealing with carnivores versus vegans. And within that particular topic, one of the things we were going to talk about would be the protein myth. And I told you guys that I had like 8 things that was dealing with the protein myth, as far as what some people still think is true about protein, as far as the consumption and where you need to get your protein from. So let's go ahead and get into that. So like I said, we got 8 myths that many people still believe are true about protein. So one of those myths would be protein's main role is muscle development. And the answer to that is false. That is not protein's main role in the human body. One of the things that protein does is this: it builds bone, joints, tendons, ligaments, hair, antibodies, hormones, enzymes, and LDL and HDL cholesterol. It also supports a healthy immune system, regulates blood glucose, and plays a role in body composition. Now, for those of you that don't know what glucose is, that's just simply dealing with sugar that is in the body, or it is a form of sugar. Another myth that a lot of people feel like is true about protein is that cutting back on protein is a good way to lose weight. The answer to that is false. Number 3, eating too much protein can cause kidney disease. The answer to that is also false. But here's a side note: only if you have an underlying condition such as kidney or liver disease, that's where you may run into some problems when you're consuming protein. Myth number 4, it's impossible to eat too much protein. Answer to that is true. Let me restate that. It's impossible to eat too much protein. The answer to that is true. You can't get enough protein on a plant-based diet. This is myth number 5, and the answer to that is false. Let's keep it moving. Number 6, everyone should take a protein supplement. The answer to that is also false. Myth number 7, as long as you eat enough protein daily, it doesn't matter when, how, or the source, in some cases, as to how you consume it. The answer to that is also false. Here's another side note to go along with myth number 7 as it pertains to protein. The recommended dietary allowance is approximately 0.4 grams per pound of body weight. So an example of that, if you want to know how much protein you need to consume every day, if you take a 150 pound person and, or better yet, let's just say 150 pound person should consume 60 grams of protein daily. Now, how you arrive at this particular amount as far as protein is concerned, as it pertains to grams, is that you take the person's body weight, you multiply that times 0.4, and that will give you the amount of protein that that individual needs to consume every day. So depending on how much an individual weighs, that will determine how much protein you need to consume. Now, if you are a bodybuilder, someone who is, dealing with weight training, power lifter, and you're trying to pack on mass, then you want to eat a little more protein than what is considered to be the norm. That way, you can pack on more muscle mass. But as far as like the daily allowance, that's pretty much it. It's 0.4 grams per pound of body weight as far as protein is concerned. And you arrive at at the amount that you need to take based on how much you weigh. All right. Myth number 8. Some sources of protein are bad. The answer to that is true. And the reason why that is because they don't list all of the ingredients on the packages or the container that the protein that a lot of people buy in, health food stores and whatnot, such as like here where I live at, Apple Crate would be a store that, I would usually go to, but I don't usually get my protein from there. I usually get my protein from the Vitamin Shop, which is another store that a lot of athletes shop at, or people who are just conscious about, their health in general, as well as GNC. But a lot of these protein-based companies, they do not list all of the ingredients as far as, these ingredients being harmful to the body. They don't list all of those ingredients. And I think by law, they're not required to put all of those ingredients on the package. So with myth number 8, that's one of the reasons why, that answer is coming out to be true, because, you never know what you're getting in some of the packages that you purchase as it pertains to protein. Now, let's deal with protein from a plant-based point of view. All right, vegan or plant-based diet. Okay, now you have this thing that a lot of people think that you cannot get enough protein or very little protein from consuming plants, grains, which all of these things are still plants, and that is simply not true. The problem is that when you're dealing with plants, what you have to do is look at the protein profile or content that is within the plant or grain that you're purchasing, that you're going to consume, and you're trying to consume enough protein to keep the mass on that you have or take your mass to another level. So when it comes to plant-based protein, it's not a problem, but usually the reason why a lot of people don't get the required amount of protein that they need, and if they're athletes, they're not getting enough protein, it's because of the profile that is within the plant or grain or whatever it may be that is plant-based. The protein content that is within that particular substance is very low. So what you have to do is find those particular plants who have a high protein profile. And that way you can get, the amount of protein that you need to get in as far as, either packing on mass or keeping your weight where you want to keep your weight at. So with that being said, I'm gonna just read you guys what I got as far as, dealing with a vegan-based diet, dealing with protein. The problem is not the source, but the density or amount of protein that is contained within the plant source. The higher the amount, the more valuable the plant is based on yield of protein. Combining plant sources that yield a high protein file will satisfy your daily protein amount. And that's basically what I was saying. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into plant sources that are high in protein. So what I'm going to do is name some of the things that, some of you guys can pick up and incorporate that into your diet as far as making your transition, or if you already made your transition and you don't know about these particular plants. These are some of the plants that you can pick up. Some of them I don't use, or I try to stay away from, but I'm going to name them anyway. And I think there's only one on here that I really try to stay away from. And then there's one that I just found out about as far as, it being a plant source and it's high in protein, but I've never tried it. So I probably won't try it, but I'm still going to name the source anyway. So as soon as we run through this, as far as the different plant sources that you can use to get, your protein, then we're going to move into the next topic. So number 1 would be tofu, tempeh, or edamame. Tofu has 10 grams of protein per half a cup. So, if you're dealing with tofu, tempeh, edamame, that's coming from soybeans. And that's one of the things that I try to stay away from. Tempeh has 15 grams of protein per half a cup. Edamame beans has 8.5 grams of protein per half a cup. Lentils cooked has 8.84 grams of protein per half a cup. Chickpeas, 7.25 grams per half a cup of protein. Peanuts has 20.5 grams of protein per half a cup. Almonds has 16.5 grams of protein per half a cup. Spirulina, blue or green algae, contains 8 grams of protein per 2 tablespoons. Now, I'm not going to name all of them, but I'm going to name quite a few. Quinoa, which is a grain that I use. I incorporate that into, my diet. So quinoa cooked has 8 grams of protein. And on top of that, it contains 9 of the essential amino acids needed by the body. You have mycoprotein, which is a fungus-based protein. Microprotein products contains around 13 grams of protein per half a cup serving. Chia seeds, 2 grams of protein per tablespoon. Hemp seeds, 5 grams of protein per tablespoon. Beans with rice contains 7 grams of protein per cup when combined as a meal. Potatoes baked, 8 grams of protein per serving. Protein-rich vegetables such as broccoli contains about 4 grams of protein, and that's in a single medium stalk. Kale has 2 grams of protein per cup. Mushrooms, 5 medium mushrooms offer 3 grams of protein. And the last one that I'm going to name is going to be Ezekiel bread. And Ezekiel bread is made from barley, wheat, lentils, millet, and spelt. And it has 4 grams of protein per slice. Now, all of these plant-based foods offer high protein content as well as vitamins, B vitamins, omega fats, enzymes, minerals, and etc. So when it comes to, being able to get your protein in, those are several things that I just named to where you can get a good amount of protein. You can pack on the mass that you want to pack on. You can pack on the muscle that you want to pack on. You can build muscle by being on a plant-based diet. So whenever you hear people talk about, you cannot build muscle without eating animals, that is utter bullshit. And like I told you guys on the last video, I am by no means a small dude. I'm not this big ass huge dude, but for me to be on a plant-based diet and people saying the things that, they've been saying about people who are on a plant-based diet, I should be looking like a stick, but I don't. I'm probably about 190 pounds right now. The most that I've ever weighed was about 210. So I've went down, or I've gone down to 170 pounds in the past, but I didn't like, that particular weight. Right now I'm trying to get my weight back up between 190 and 200 pounds. I feel more comfortable there. But even looking at me now, a lot of people think that I'm over 200 pounds and I'm probably like $190. And, that's a pretty comfortable weight. But, like I said, I want to get my weight between 190 and 200. And I've been doing that based off of a plant-based diet. So now we're done with that part as far as carnivores versus vegans, dealing with the pros and cons as far as protein is concerned. Meaning, do you really need to get protein from an animal, or can you get it from a plant-based diet? And I just showed you guys, or just told you guys that, there are several sources out there, and there are many more where you could get a high amount of protein based on a plant-based diet. So what we're going to go into now is another myth, which is dealing with vitamin B12. All right, so myth number 1, and I think this is the only myth that I have right now. Some people believe that vitamin B12 only comes from animal flesh and other animals. That is cow's milk, chicken eggs, etc. And the fact of the matter is that vitamin B12 is solely bacteria based. The other information that I've compiled as far as, dealing with B12 is that Fungi, animals, and plants are incapable of producing B12 on their own and must obtain it from outside sources. B12 is synthesized by bacteria and is therefore found in areas of bacterial growth, namely dirt and soil. In order for the bacteria to make B12, the soil needs to contain the mineral cobalt. So, when people start talking about people being deficient in B12 as far as vegans are concerned, that is true. Some of them are. But if they are deficient in B12, that is because they don't know what to do in order to get the B12 into their system. But the same can also be said about those who eat meat, because you also have people who are meat eaters who are also deficient in vitamin B12. Let's keep it moving. So B12 produced within our gut is too far down our digestive system to be absorbed by our body, but is excreted in our feces. Gorillas get their B12 from accidental eating of soil in their own feces, containing B12 when naturally eating their plant-based diet. And when you think about a gorilla, their diet is plant-based, but they are some of the biggest and bulkiest creatures on the face of the planet, and they don't eat meat. You have elephants, giraffes. All of these animals are some of the biggest animals on the face of the planet. We're not even going to go into, the realm of aquatic life, because some of the biggest marine life that is on the planet is plant. Their diet is plant-based. They don't eat other animals. They don't eat meat. They eat plants. So when it comes to some of the biggest, the fastest animals on the face of the planet, they're not eating meat. They're eating plants. So, that kills that whole illusion, or what people like to say as far as, vegans cannot get vitamin B12, or they can't get protein because of, limited sources and whatnot. But we're going to get into why B12 is very limited in both meat eaters as well as people who are vegans. Don't know if we're going to be able to cover it in this particular series of the of this particular video, but like I said, we're going to continue until we get all the information out. But if we don't get it in this one, then I'm pretty sure we'll get it in the next video that I upload. So let's keep it moving. So now we get ready to go into why vitamin B12 is, deficient in both elements as far as meat eaters and people who are non-meat eaters. And that's dealing with declining soil quality. There is a problem for it is a problem for humans as well as for farm animals. Cattle naturally get B12 and bacteria that produces B12 from clumps of dirt around the grass roots. Chickens get B12 from pecking in the soil for worms and other insects. Now, here's the problem. Soil has become deficient of B12 because of farming practices, which leads to cobalt deficiency in soil. 95% of all B12 supplements manufactured are actually given to farmed animals. And that is because they are deficient in that particular vitamin. So when it comes to, that whole argument, it's not only vegans who are deficient in vitamin B12, but meat eaters can be deficient in vitamin B12 as well. So my time is just about up. We're going to cut it at this particular point, and we're going to pick back up where we left off from. And, we're going to keep it moving. I hope that you guys are, taking notes, and I hope that you're checking behind me, because if there's something that I said that was not right, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section to let me know that, I need to do further research, or something that I tapped in on was not 100% true, because I don't want to give out any false information. I want my shit to be as thorough and complete as it can possibly be. So I don't have, my head is not big to the point where I can't humble myself to correct myself. So like I said, if there's anything that I've said that is not true, yo, get at me. So my time is running out now. I'm going to go ahead and end right here. And until the next time, yo, you guys stay healthy, stay safe. Peace.